We continue now at the top of Daf Daled Amud Aleph in Meseches Bava Basra. This is Bava Basra Daf 4a. On the previous Amud, the Gemara said that Hordis killed out all of the Chachamim except for Babba and Batra. And the Gemara continues the story, Ahadr leklila diyale, he put over his head, meaning he put on the head of Babba ben Batra a wreath that was made of porcupine, nakrinu la'ene, and it poked out his eyes, so he was no longer able to see. And the Gemara continues, Yom Achad, one day, Asav Yosef Kameh, he came and he sat before him, meaning Hordis sat before Babba ben Batra. Amar, and he said, Chazi mar hayavda bisha maika avid. Look at what this Evid, what this slave, what he's doing wrong. Essentially, he was trying to catch Babba ben Batra to see if Babba ben Batra really was against him. Amar le, so Babba ben Batra said back to Hordis, my avidle, what should I do to him? What do you want from me? Amar le, so Hordis said to him, Nilati Yemar, the master should curse him. You should curse Hordis. And the Gemara continues, Amar le, Babba ben Batra said back to him, Ksiv, it's written in the pasuk, Gam b'madoacha melech al takal, it says even in your thoughts, you shouldn't curse a king. Amar le, so Hordis said back to Babba ben Batra, Haylav melechu, but he's not really a king. Really, he's just a slave. Amar le, so he said back to him, V'lahav asher bi'alma, even if he was just a wealthy person. It says that you shouldn't curse a wealthy person, even in your private room. V'lo yehei nasi, and even if he was just a nasi, it's written, V'nasi bi'amcha lo sar, you can't curse a nasi, and so therefore I can't curse him. Amar le, so then Hordis said back to him, Ba'osa ma'isa amcha, but that's only true if he's doing the deeds of your nation, if he's acting appropriately. But Hordis is not acting appropriately. V'hailav osa ma'isa amcha, this person, meaning Hordis, is not doing the deeds of your nation. Amar le, so Babba ben Batra said back to him, Mistapina mina, I'm afraid of him. Amar le, so he said back to him, Leka inish do'azal delemele, there's no one here that's going to tell him what happened. Da'anova at Yosifna, it's just you and I that are sitting here. Amar le, so Babba ben Batra said back to him, Ksiv, it's written in the pasuk, Ki of hashamayim yolech esakol, the birds in the skies, they will carry the rumor, people will find out, uval kanafayim yagid dover, those who have wings will tell what happened. Amar le said to him, I know who, I'm actually Hordis. In other words, Hordis admitted that he was actually the king and he was trying to catch him in this. Ihavo yadana de Zahari, Rabbanan kulihai, and Hordis said, if I had known that the Rabbanan are so careful, lo hava katilna luhu, I wouldn't have killed all the Rabbanan. Hashta maita kante dahu gavri, he said, now what's the solution for such a person? Meaning, Hordis said, how can I do teshuva? Amar le said to him, hu kava oro shalolam, he put out the light of the world when he killed the Chachamim. As it's written in the pasuk, in their mitzvah of Torah, or it says that the Torah is like the light. So yelech v'yasok ba'oro shalolam. So he should deal with the light of the world, essentially saying to help to rebuild, to fix the Beis Hamikdash. Techsiv, as it's written in the pasuk, v'no'aharu elov kol hagoyim. It's talking about the Beis Hamikdash. It says v'no'aharu elov. It uses this language of or. And the Gemara continues, Ika di'amri, there are those that say, Hachi amarle, this is what he said to him, Husima eina shalolam, he blinded the eyes of the world. Techsiv, as it's written, v'haya it's a reference to the Sanhedrin, to the Chachamim, and they're the eyes of the world. So Yelech v'yasasek be'eno shalolam. So he should deal with the eyes of the world, a reference to the Beis Hamikdash. Techsiv, as it's written in the pasuk, Hineni mechales mikdashi gon uzchem machmar einechem. It says it's the delight of your eyes. Amar le, so Hordis said to him, Mistapina mi malchusa, but I'm afraid of the government, meaning to say I'm afraid of the Roman government. Amar le said to him, Shadar shlicha, just send the messenger over there to get permission. V'lezel shasa, it'll take a year for the messenger to get there. V'liakev shasa, the messenger will stay there for a year. V'lahader shasa, it will take a year to get back. Adachi v'achi, and in the meantime, sasris leyu vanyas leyu, you can destroy the Beis Hamikdash and rebuild it better. And the Gemara continues, Avad hachi, that's exactly what Hordis did. So shalchu le, so they sent back to him, meaning the Roman government sent back a message, Im lo satarta al tistra, if you didn't yet destroy it, don't destroy it. Vim starta al tivni, if you did destroy it, don't rebuild. Vim startu vanisan, if you destroyed it and you rebuilt it, avdi bisha, you're like those who act inappropriately, that basar da avdin mismalchin, that after they already do something, then they consult, then they ask for permission. And the Gemara continues, they said further, Im zayna chalach, if you're armed, if you have weapons, sifr chakan, your book is over here, meaning to say, we know your true lineage, lo racha v'lo baracha, you're not a king, you're not the son of a king. Hordis avda klanya misaved. Hordis is a slave that made himself a free man. And the Gemara continues, my racha, what does the word racha mean? Malchus, it means a king. Dechsiv, as it's written in the pasuk, this is a pasuk in Shmuel Beis. It says, Anochi hayom rachu mashuach melech. David HaMelech says, today I'm weak, an anointed king. V'ba yisem, if you want, I could say mehacha from here, from the following pasuk, vayikru lefan of Avrech. This is by Yosef. It says that he was called Avrech. Again, it means to say that he was a young leader. And the Gemara continues, Amri, they said, Misha lo ra binyan hordis. If somebody did not see the building of Hordis, the Beis HaMikdash of Hordis, lo ra binyan noam yamav, he never saw a great building in his days. But my banyan, the Gemara says, how did he build it? Amar Rabba says, and some have the gears of Amar Rava says, Ba'avne shishu marmara, they were marble stones, white and green. Ika diamri, there are those that say, Ba'avne kuchla shishu marmara, it was stones of marble that were blue, white, and green. Apik shafa v'ayel shafa, some of the rows stuck out a little, some were drawn in. Kihechid in a kabel seed in order to be able to apply the plaster. Savar l'mishaye bedava, he thought that he should coat it with gold. Amru le Rabbanan, the Rabbanan said to him, Shavke, leave it as it is. Dehachi shaper tvei, this looks nicer. Demichsi ki idvisa diyama, because it looks like the waves of the ocean. But the Gemara continues, Bava Basra Daf, but Bava Basra, how was he able to do this? How could he give advice to Hordis? V'amar Rav Yehuda Marav, but didn't Rav Yehuda say that Rav said, V'iteimer Rav Yoshua ben Levi, and some say it's Rav Yoshua ben Levi that said, Mivnei manenash Daniel, why was Daniel punished? Mivnei shehesi eitzel Nebuchadnezzar, because he gave advice to Nebuchadnezzar. Shenemar, as it says in the pasuk, Lehein Malka, Milki Yishbar Aloch, V'chatoch, B'tzidka Faruk, V'avayosoch b'mechan anoyin, Hein Teheve Archa, L'shleivsach V'gomer. It says that Daniel said to Nebuchadnezzar, the way to redeem yourself from the prophecy against you is you should give tzedakah, you should help the poor. Uchsiv, and it's written, Kol Mitah al Nebuchadnezzar Malka. All of this happened to Nebuchadnezzar. Uchsiv, and it says in the pasuk, L'ktsasi Yarchin Trayasar V'gomer, that this punishment against Nebuchadnezzar was held off for 12 months. And so you see that Daniel gave this advice to Nebuchadnezzar. How could Bava Basra give this advice to Hordis? And the Gemara answers, if you want, I could say, Shani Avda, it's different by a slave, because Hordis was actually an Eved, the Chayiv mitzvahs, because Hordis actually was Chayiv in mitzvahs, and therefore it's appropriate that he should give him advice how to do Teshuvah. And if you want, I could say, Shani Beis HaMikdash, it's different when it comes to the building of the Beis HaMikdash, the Lo Malchus Lo Mispini, because without the government's help, you're not going to be able to build the Beis HaMikdash, and that's why this is okay. And the Gemara continues, V'Daniel Minolan Diyanish, but how do we know that Daniel was punished? If you're going to say it's because it's written in the pasuk, Vatikra Esther lahasach, it says that Esther called Hasach. V'yamar Rav, and Rav said Hasach zed Daniel, that Hasach actually was Daniel. So so that works according to the one who says that Daniel was called Hasach because they cut him down from his great position. But according to the one who says that they called Daniel Hasach because everything the kingdom did was through his advice, so then it's not something negative against him, it's not a punishment. So what are you going to say? What was the punishment of Daniel? And the Gemara answers to that, the Shadyuhu Laguva Da'aryavasa, that they threw him into the lion's den. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Hakol Kaminig HaMedina, everything follows the local custom in terms of building the walls between neighbors. And the Gemara says, Hakol La'asuye Mai, what is the Hakol in the Mishnah? What is it coming to include? And the Gemara answers, La'asuye Asra Denhigi Behutza Vidafna. It's to include a place where the custom is to build it with palm branches. Let's say they build the fence with palm branches or laurel branches. So then again, we follow the local custom. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Lafikach, therefore, Im nafal hakosel, if the wall falls, hamakom v'avonim shel shneim. So then the area where the wall was and the stones belong to both of them, because again, this is talking about in an area where both of them are building the wall. And the Gemara says, Pshita, well, isn't this obvious? If it's a place where they both build the wall, so of course the area of the wall and the stones belong to both of them. And the Gemara says, Lo no tzrich, it's necessary to nafal reshusa dechad minayu. What happened was that the wall fell into one of their areas, into one of their rishus, and so therefore you might have thought he gets to keep it. Inami or de paninu chad l'rishusa didei. One of them cleared everything into his property. Ma'u detema, what might you have said? Nahave ida chamotzi mechaver olav haraya. Maybe the other person becomes the person who's trying to take it from the possession of the person who has possession. So it's hamotzi mechaver olav haraya. Maybe you would have thought that. Kamash malon, again, it comes to teach us that in this situation, since we're talking about a place where they are both presumed to have built the wall together, therefore, again, they split the stones and they split the area where the wall was. And Rashi explains, Pshit, isn't it obvious again that they split these stones? Do havonim shel shneim. It's obvious that the stones belong to both of them. And Rashi says, Dafilu lo pasak londina demasnis. And even if we didn't have the halach of the Mishnah, hamalamdeinu shemitchila bein shneim asua, which the Mishnah taught us that we know from the beginning they both contributed equally to the wall, still al karcham hayucholkim b'shavah. Still, they would divide evenly. Havonim, they would divide the stones evenly. evenly. Why? Because aren't the stones in the rishus of both of them? Viad mimehem tigbar. Why should one of them have the advantage over the other? And so then the Gemara ultimately answered, the case might be where it fell into one of their property, or one of them cleared it into his property. So you might have thought hamotzim echaveru olav araya, and that's what the Mishnah is teaching, that we do not say that. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, v'chein begina, the same is true by a garden. Makam shenoagu ligdor mechayiv, and also if it's a place where the custom is to put up a fence, so then one can be mechayiv the other one, they both put it up together. And the Gemara says, hagufa kasha, it's really it's a contradiction, it's an internal contradiction in the wording of the Mishnah. Amrit v'chein begina, you say that likewise by a garden, makam shenoagu ligdor mechayiv, and also that if it's a place where the custom is to put up a fence, or mechayiv him to put up the fence, hastama ein mechayiv, and also that sounds like if there was no particular custom, then we would not obligate him to put up the fence. But now look at the end of the Mishnah. The Mishnah then goes on to say, avol bika, but if you're talking about a bika, makom shenoagu shelo ligdor, if it's a place where the custom is not to put up a fence, ein mechayven oso, so then we don't obligate him to put up the fence. Hastama mechayven oso, that sounds like if there's no local custom, we would obligate him to put up the fence. And so now the Gemara says, hashta stam gina. Now if you're saying that in a gina where there's no official custom, amrit lo, so then we say that we don't force it. So stam bika, so if you're talking about a bika, so mi boy, so do you have to say, of course there you're not going to force it. The point over here is that in a gina there's more hezek re'iyah. There people are expecting some amount of privacy, but when you're talking about a bika, an area just with open fields, so then there's no expectation of privacy. So certainly we shouldn't be forcing that the person builds a fence, and yet it says that by a bika, in a stam situation, we would force. And so the Gemara says, Amar Abaye, Abaye says, Hachi Kamar. This is what the Mishnah means to say. V'chein stam gina, if you're talking about a gina that has no particular custom, uvemakam shenoagu ligdor bebika, or if it's a place where the custom is to put up a fence in the bika, in the area of the open fields, mechayven oso. So then in those two situations, we would obligate him to put up a fence. But the Gemara says, Amar le Rava, but then Rava said back to him, if that's the case, imkain, if so, my avol, what does it mean in the Mishnah when it says avol, but it's not really a contrast, according to the way that Abaye is understanding. Elamar Rava, rather, Rava says, Hachi Katani, here's how you understand the Mishnah. V'chein stam gina, when you're talking about a garden with no particular custom, kimakam shenagu ligdor dami, we consider that like a place where the custom is to put up a fence, umechayven oso, and we do obligate him to put up the fence. Avol stam bika, but let's say you're talking about a bika where there's no particular custom, kimakam shelo nagu dami, that's like a place where there is no custom to put up a fence, ve'en mechayven oso, and in that case we would not obligate him to put up a fence. And Rashi explains, Hashta stam gina amrit lo, if you're saying that in general by a garden, you don't force him to put up a fence, even though there's more hezekriya, again, there's more expectation of privacy. And then Abaye answered, Amar Abaye, Abaye says, Haimokam shenagu ligdor de katani masnisin, when the Mishnah says a place where there's a custom to put up a fence, that's a bika koi, that's going on the case of the bika, on the case of the fields. And Rashi continues, Imkain, if so, my avol bebika, why does it say but in a bika? Hamina salak, we're already talking about a bika. V'hachi boile lemisne, it should have said as follows, avol mokam shenagu shelo ligdor ein mechayven oso, that if it's a place where there's a custom not to put up a fence, then we're not mechayevim, meaning to say, we were talking about a stam gina and a bika where there's a custom to put up a fence, and then the avol should have been in a place where there's no custom to put up a fence. And so then the Gemara went on to give Rava's answer again, that Rava said that a stam gina is considered like a place where the custom is to put up a fence, but a stam bika is considered to be like a place where the custom is not to put up a fence. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, Elim ratza konis l'soch shelo ubo neviosa chazis. But if he wants, what he does is, this is talking about a case where only one of the neighbors is putting up the wall. He should put the wall in his own property, and then he makes a chazis, and the chazis is essentially like a siman. It is a sign that this wall was built completely by him. And the Gemara says, my chazis, what is this chazis? What is this sign that demonstrates that it's his wall? Amar Rav Huna says, ach fi'alei lakarna levar. What he does is, he turns the wall, the top of the wall bends a little towards the outside, towards his neighbor, and that shows that it is his wall. Rashi says, michvia lakarna levar means Roshei HaKosel, the top of the wall, yochav l'tzad chaveru. It should bend, it should tilt towards his friend's property, and therefore that's going to be, again, a siman, that's a sign that he built this wall entirely. And the Gemara says, v'nav Avid milagava. Why are you bending the wall towards the neighbor? He should bend it towards himself. And the Gemara says to that, well, that's problematic because Avid Chavre Nami Milavar, because then what's going to happen is his friend is also going to build it. He'll build an addition, he'll tilt it towards the outside. V'amar didi v'didehu, and he'll say, actually, it's both of ours. The wall is mine and his. And Rashi says, didi v'didehu, it's mine and his. K'diktani masnisin, kisha osin oso ben shneim, osin chazas mikan mikan. It said in the Mishnah that let's say they both make the wall, so then they make a chazas on both sides, and so therefore we're afraid, again, if you're going to make it tilt towards yourself, then his friend is going to do the same exact thing. But the Gemara says, if so, hashtanami. Now also, let's say he tilts it towards the outside, towards his neighbor. So guy is lechavri. What will happen is his friend will cut off whatever was tilted, whatever was bent towards him. V'yamar didi v'dideyu, and he'll say that it's mine and it's his. And the Gemara says to that, gizuza meida yidi. It's known when somebody cuts it, it's obvious, and therefore he won't be able to do that. And the Gemara says, Ika Diamri, there are those that say it's the exact opposite. Amar Rav Huna says, Michvel Lakarna Milagav. What he actually does is he tilts it towards his own property to show that it's his. And the Gemara says, V'niyavin Milavar, why not tilt it towards the outside? And the Gemara answers, Gai is Lechavri, because then his neighbor is going to cut it off. V'yamar Didi V'didehu, and he'll say that it's mine and his. And the Gemara says, Yachi, if so, Hashtanami, Layif Lechavri. If that's the case, won't his friend just create some kind of addition that tilts towards his own property that shows that it's both of theirs? V'yamar Didi V'didehu, and I'll say it's mine and it's his. And the Gemara in this version answers, Lifufa Meida Yediyah. When a person makes an addition to the wall, it's clear, it's obvious, and therefore he won't be able to do that. But the Gemara asks on this different version, V'hami bachutz katani, but it says it's mi bachutz. It says whatever this chazas is, it's on the outside. And in this Ika Diamri, in the second version of Rav Huna, it's actually towards the inside. It's towards his own property. And the Gemara says to that kasha, the Gemara says, indeed, that is a difficulty with this other version. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Dalid Amud Beis.